All right. So good to have you. Thanks for joining me, man. It's been trying to connect for a while, so this is very cool.
Yeah, no, thank you for having me. I appreciate it, and I love what you were just talking about with the safe space and a brave space, and I think that's really really important. Whatever we're doing, to try and create that ultimately is. Why do we do what we do? We don't come and we do our teacher training and then all of a sudden we know everything and it's all about learning. And the only way we can learn is if we open ourselves up, make ourselves a little bit vulnerable
Yes.
and ask questions. And yeah, it definitely resonates with me. I think back to like
Yes.
my teacher trainings, and I would sometimes just sit in the background and think if I can hide and no one here and get through this and then I can start to like grow. But really that's your opportunity to start
Right
growing
then.
out. Anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. If you could just say your name and your business, and I have another question off of that little piece there you just said. So,
Okay, yeah. So I'm Jamie Issac, on Instagram, the Pilates Man. Have two main businesses really. One is my studio here, which is Fluid Life Pilates, and then I work with my wife on our second, which is the Azul Fit retreats that we have in Fuerteventura in the Canary Islands. So
oh, amazing.
yeah.
Great. So back to that brave space piece. You have some great posts, and I was just messing around this morning, like dead cold, trying to do like an absolute fail. But it's just fun to say, like, was there a time when you didn't feel comfortable enough to even put yourself out there with those exercises, like for fear of like people thinking, okay, that's off, that's not really right, sort of
Yeah.
thing?
Oh no, that's a great call. Because if I'm totally honest, I would say even now I'm one of those people that are guilty of. I'll film something perhaps, and then I'll look back and go, oh yeah, but look, I'm here, I'm there, my feet are in the wrong place, I've not quite, connected there, my body position's wrong, and it's not just a vanity thing. I'm sure there's a huge part of it with vanity, but it's just there is that small element of fear that if I put this out there, what will people think? And at some point, you do have to just sort of say, well, do you know what? This is me. This is what I'm doing. This is the moment I'm in. This is authentically me. That's what people can take it or leave it. So
Yes. Yeah,
pretty
yeah.
much, even to
It,
this day, yeah,
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's always the self-talk because I'm sure that I catch myself with like I'll do that and I might kind of wrap it in progress, or I'll show you this again later, or like we do something to kind of just talk ourselves off the ledge of trying to be perfect with it.
yeah,
But there's still always that internal dialogue with it, right? Like we're fearing the Pilates police coming after us.
exactly. And I sometimes wonder if I mean, not to go too far into that, but wonder to what extent that rights policing that really exists, and how much of it is just our interpretation of that. Because once we are vulnerable, that makes us slightly scared. We put something out there, and I think it's super brave and wonderful the way you ask. Okay, comment on this. Tell me about this. What do you see? And that's brave, because for a lot of us, the minute we start to get feedback, our first response is, hey, well, this is the best I got. This is what I'm doing. And we react to it as opposed to sort of taking it on board. And because it's a hard thing to do, to put yourself out there. It's a brave thing to do, to put yourself out there. And no, I'm like you. I will welcome feedback all the time. I just want to improve. I want to grow. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah, and maybe it is that desire. Well, I don't say that wanting to grow, but there has to be something that gets us over that hump of being fearful of someone's opinion or fearful of feedback, even if it's good feedback. Like you don't like. I've just been musing on this for a while because I feel that there's something that needs to be said for being bold enough to hear negative feedback and interpret in a way like, okay, I'm going to get better now instead of, okay, I'm never going to do this again.
yeah, yeah, for sure. It's I think that with all of that, a lot of it can come from who's given the feedback and how they're given the feedback, because there are a myriad of ways that we can give feedback, and let's call
Yes.
it like this constructive criticism concept. Criticism is has a negative connotation.
Mhm.
Feedback is development, right? So
Yes.
um, and I think I mean, we're talking about it in a Pilates sense, but It's across our entire life, right?
Yes, yes.
My background prior to sort of my Pilates life and all of that, I was a teacher, and we studied, how do you teach? How do you take each individual and give them feedback across like everything from what you're educating them in to actual life in general. And it's the same as this Pilates concept of teaching the body in front of you. It feels like it's very much the same. It's going to be very specific to every individual or group that you're working with and the dynamic
Yes.
you have going on. And often we get it wrong. So there's many a time when maybe you go in with a more direct and look, we've got no time, we're going to get this right. This is what is not happening here, and this is what I'd like to see more of.
Yes.
And that doesn't go down well, perhaps. But if we, as the receiver of the information, can create that space between the teacher, the mentor, whoever it is we're working with, and understand that no matter what, they're giving us that feedback, they're taking the time to give us that feedback, even if it comes out kind of scary, negative, shouting, or whatever way, if we can create the space between them and us and say, all right, this is meant from a good place.
Yes.
I'm going to take what I can from it and lose the defensiveness, which is not easy.
No.
Then that can help. Anyway, I don't know. That's my...
No, that was good. I mean, it's maturity, it's practice, it's there's a lot of stuff in there. What grades did you teach?
Well, I started out as a secondary school physical education teacher.
Okay.
And then I progressed into, and I fell into actually the world of special education, so special needs, working with everything from sort of Down syndrome through to profound and multiple learning difficulties, and just had probably the most fun 10 years of my life just doing that. So
yeah. Oh wow, that's awesome.
yeah.
And so then how did you end up in Pilates World then?
Yeah, so obviously, so I started in phys ed. Movement's always been something. Coaching's always been something that I've done. And I found myself sort of pursuing personal training, actually, and wanted to become a personal trainer. So I went down that road and someone said, you should try Pilates, right? So Pilates, I've heard of it. It's this kind of new thing. I went to a Pilates class and came out and said, nope, I am never doing that again in my life. That was
Okay, that's good.
And,
good first impression.
Yeah, perfect, right? And here I am, just absolutely obsessed by this thing that's taken over my life, and it's funny how that happens, but that's how I sort of fell into it, and it grew from there. I just once you open that rabbit hole and you jump in, I don't think there's any going back.
Yeah, exactly. So in terms of that first Pilates class, what was it that what was your experience with that? Like, what turned you off from it? What did you think? Okay, well, this isn't for me.
So it was the classic. I'm sure everyone will have experienced something like this, right? You go in, it's a gym, right? Because you're just working out and you see these group classes, and there's a lot of people for a start. And then you got this one instructor. She's at the front, mic'd up, and she's just blasting through these exercises, and I have no idea why we're doing them, what's happening, what the connection is, where I'm feeling it, or anything like that. And I'm looking around the room as well, right? So it was my girlfriend, my wife now, but my girlfriend at the time, who said, let's do this, let's jump into this, right? And which is surprising because she won't go anywhere near a Pilates studio these days. So she's always no Pilates, but so we went in, and there's no one also that I can look around and relate to. It's predominantly female. It's part of the world where we were living that wasn't my kind of vibe. But so it just didn't resonate at all.
Yes. Isn't it funny how you could have those experiences, and some people talk about having this fantastic instructor or coach for their first Pilates session, and they're hooked, and then they drop everything, they move across the country, they live with this person, and they had this wonderful story. And then people have stories like yours, and I'm sure even though that was a negative experience, that has probably impacted the way that you teach now for that first person who comes in to make sure that they have connection and that they have an understanding, they know what's going on and all those different things. I'm sure that has had just as much of an impact on how you teach today as if you had like an amazing first experience.
Yeah, see that's a great point, and that's something that I kind of share with, or I try and express to people, is I don't think there is such thing as a bad experience, or an experience we can't learn from.
Yes.
Right. It's often those like you say, exactly, that allows me to relate now to people that walk into the studio. I know exactly how it feels to walk into a studio, feel like I don't belong. It's not even a studio, we're talking like this gym class, but there's been other experiences.
Yes.
You don't feel like you fit in, you don't know what's going on, you know where you're meant to put your mat down, and all this sort of stuff. And exactly like you say, someone walks into my studio, that's the first thing I want to do, is just make sure that they feel safe, they feel that they know what's going on, that I'm reassuring them, and then this is what we're doing and this is why we're doing it. And then ultimately, so that instructor at the front was probably an evening, she'd probably taught about 50 classes or something. She was just done. She's probably like, let's just get this done and get home.
Yes.
And I can appreciate that, but you've got to bring the love every single moment that you teach. Otherwise, what are you doing? Like, why are you standing up there?
Yes.
You've got to give everything that you've got, even if it's not a great deal in that moment. You've got to just, yeah.
Absolutely. And I hear you. We're not trying to slam this teacher,
no,
by no means, but that's what happens, right? Like when we look at how we take care of ourselves, how do we present, and there's times we do that. And as much as I want to have as much energy on my 8th person for the day as on my first person,
yeah,
it's going to drop off, right?
Of course. Yeah. But I mean, that's human that we are, right? So
right.
we deliver the best we can in that moment, right?
Absolutely. So how did you end up getting into like a teacher training and Pilates after your negative first experience?
Yeah. No, I mean, it was the same thing. It was like a little while later, this can't be all that bad, surely. Let's try again. And then I think eventually I went back to it, saw the benefits, and it was very different. The type of Pilates I started with is very different to the type of Pilates that I jump into these days, right?
Yes.
So it was in the UK. It was very sort of functional movement, a lot of pre-Pilates stuff, and so growing into that world. So I did my first course anyway, the mat course, and then I went on and did my apparatus, and then I moved out to Spain, and was teaching a lot in Spain. And that was when, after we moved from Spain, my wife is actually from New Mexico. So we would go back and visit family quite a bit. And New Mexico, Santa Fe, where she was from, just happens to be this just treasure chest of well-being and incredible Pilates teachers. And I did some study there with Michelle Larson and a wonderful teacher, Celia Holton, who's also a Brit who lives there, and they just opened up this whole like treasure box of like, I'm jumping into this movement and Pilates, and so that sort of then took what I'd originally done, which kind of connected really well, because Celia actually was originally trained by Alan Herdman, so in the UK, right? So yes. It has UK kind of roots, but I was now in America, and when we finally moved, we moved to Santa Fe first. And so I continued studies there. And then we moved out west to California, and strangely enough, I see that Lolita San Miguel is doing like a mentorship in Florida. So I would go and train with Lolita. And so the journey sort of continues to go from this super sort of, let's say, clinical Pilates world to this real sort of contemporary sort of
fluid
kind of world.
Yes.
And then back to what I'm thinking is going to be like the roots, like with Lolita and her connections to Joe. And I loved every minute of my 2 years with Lolita. It was phenomenal. But it still wasn't like really truly resonating. It was amazing. And I grew and learned so much. But then I thought, there's got to be even more. I still want to know more about this guy, this boxer, where's this,
Yes.
And I met, when I was studying with Lolita, I met Zoe Trapp from Peak, and Zoe was like, Jamie, because the thing was, right, okay, sorry, I'll just go into the lead. So the lead, amazing studio, beautiful
Yeah.
studio space, and it's just packed with all this beautiful balanced body apparatus. You know, it's
Yes.
all, you know, the latest. And over in the back corner, right, are these three dusty grats, you know, reformers. You don't know,
Yes.
get on this balanced body stuff. You're a big guy. You need this space. You need this. You know. But I keep sneaking over onto the grat stuff
Right.
in the difference, you know. And I'd meet
Yes.
Zoe, and Zoe would be like, "Yeah, this is cool." And she's like, "You should come in and see what you think of Peak." So I jump in with. Zoe's a good friend. She's just this amazing person who's just, you know, been such a mentor in my life. And I go over to Peak, and it's amazing. And I feel part of not just I don't just feel this connection with the work, with this more authentic sort of Pilates, but this community that Peak have going on, and just,
Yes.
this is my place. This is where I am, and yeah, and that was me. Gosh, a long
Wow.
rant.
No, I see the thread though. And it's funny because like all those things tie into your brand of Pilates, right? Like there's this, it's something to be said for the fact that this is Joe's work, and then we bring our experience, our lens to that work. So if you see how you went from a clinical to a fluid to an authentic to a, and then you landed at a place of community plus all the things that you learned,
Yeah,
I'm sure that if I took a class from you, even though we probably know the same language in terms of the exercises,
yeah.
the things you'd be looking for would be different things than what I would be looking for.
Yeah, and I think that's important, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's even within, even like so across the entire Pilates spectrum, so much like diversity in terms of teaching, right?
Yes.
And then even when you take something like you take like classical Pilates, right? But even within that classical realm,
Yes.
it's like peeling off the layers of an onion. There's so many different ways, and yeah, it's deep. And like you say, exactly. So some people are looking sort of in close and then panning out, and other people are out and in and looking for different things, different movements. And yeah, it's mind blowing. It's mind blowing.
Absolutely. And what we're not saying is that there's a main thing. And I love the saying, the main thing is to keep the main thing the main thing.
Right.
What is the main thing?
With Pilates.
Yes.
Well, well for me, or is this like?
Well, that's the whole point, right? Like it really is for you, right? Like, so what for you with it when someone's in front of you? I would say if I could just answer the question while you're trying to
Yeah.
to buy you some time to answer the question, is I would say the main thing is movement. How do we get your body moving well, efficiently, strong through full range of motion? And then after that, we can get picky about, you know, the minutia of that movement and all those different things. But, you know, movement. Is the body moving? Are we getting from zero to movement, and from within that dive deeper based on what the person's needs are?
Yeah, 100%. I 100% agree with you with that. And it doesn't matter whether you're talking about someone who's coming from a place of pain and no movement, rehab, all that sort of stuff, or if you're talking about like elite athletes, it's still the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. And don't you think that that's what Joe was ultimately looking to do?
Yes, absolutely. Because when you give pause to this, you realize, wait a minute, that's what he wanted, but we're the ones who have complicated it.
Yeah. Yeah.
After the fact, we are the ones who have complicated it.
And I mean, everyone's always going to have their own interpretation on that movement, or their own, like you say, we see it as teachers in a different way. And it's hard not to step in as a teacher and impose your own agenda on who you're teaching. Right?
Yeah, of course.
But ultimately, yeah, it is movement. Movement is healing, and it doesn't actually matter. I think about this a lot, especially in this day and age where there's a lot of, let's say, division, right? Across everything, right? But especially like in the Pilates world, it's always there. It's like, hey, classical, contemporary, classical. It's just cool bullshit on the whole thing. Just it's movement, right? It's ultimate movement. And if it's mindful movement done without, you know, from a space of looking to heal and to help someone, then it's valid and it has value, right? What you call it, I don't really care, right? It's it's movement, it's healing, and you are changing someone's life for the better, right? And ultimately, if you take, and this is like a goal. It's not a secret of people that know me, but this is a goal in my life. If you can change every single individual, right, by bringing movement into their body and making them feel great, because that's when we are the best version of ourselves, is when we're physically, mentally, dialed in and tuned in and we've moved, then we feel happy, right? And we can't just go around and start fighting with people or shouting at people, or we feel good, we're a better person.
Yes.
It has this knock-on effect. And then eventually, if every single person in the world can just discover that, then we have world peace, right? I know that's a massive, right?
But it's
It's possible.
It's true. I think you need to be a bit more passionate about that, though, Jamie.
Do you think?
Yeah. No, that's exactly it, man. Like, I mean, that movement, I've said it from the flip side, like, hurt people hurt people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And when we have just emotional pain, or we have like pain in our body and we're miserable, like, we give that to people as well. So the opposite also is true. When we feel good and we're moving well and we're doing something that we couldn't do last week or 6 months ago, you feel so good that's contagious as well.
Yeah. It really is. It's such a good point about, hurt people. It is so true. And just jumping over to like our world of retreats, right? This is why we do it. We world peace, one movement at a time, right? World peace is like this ridiculously huge goal, but you get the idea. You got to think big.
I follow it. Yes.
Well, it's the thing. You see someone arrives on day one, and they're maybe coming from a place of pain. Maybe they're a little bit, life's not gone great, or they just need this space, and they step into this, very unique world where they're just going to move and eat well, and be in community with like-minded souls, right? And you can see change through the week. And it's incredible. All of a sudden, these people start to grow, and you see them just come out of themselves and be themselves. They're just their true self, the person they want to be. And then most of the time, right? And then they get on a plane, they fly home, and they step off that plane with this smile and this just uplifted, positive sort of vibe. And then how can that not affect other people around them? How can that not make their personal world a better space? So I see it happening in real time. And you see it in your studio, right? You have people you work with, and you must.
Yes.
I imagine you have like everyone from the clients that come in and they're upbeat all the time to those that need just a little bit of nurturing, right?
Yes, absolutely. I love the retreat concept, and I've thought about doing that in the past, but I've also been kind of scared by how much work it is to land at that. So how long have you been doing these retreats for? What made you decide to get into that space?
Once again, it was never a decision we made. I have to admit that everything that I do in my life comes from a selfish perspective of just wanting to go for a surf, right?
Right.
So
it's good that you're aware.
I'm totally aware that surfing terrible. If you don't do it, don't start, right? It will ruin your life, right? So I basically wanted to go over to this island just off of the west coast of Africa, right? It's just this little Spanish-owned island, has this incredible surf, and we moved over there to live and surf. But of course, to live, you've got to put food on the table. And so I was teaching some Pilates, and then we opened up this surf lodge, which was a bit of a flop, a bit of a terrible business decision. But people eventually came out, and they'd be like, well, do you know what? I'm going to come with you to your Pilates class. And we would go to yoga with some friends, and they'd be like, I'll come with that. And we were like, wait a minute, let's just open it up, and people can come out and stay. And instead, we do a healthy kind of, and people jumped in. This is like 12, 13 years ago. Yes. And it just grew organically from there. And before we know it now, prior to all this COVID madness that we're all through, we have a beautiful retreat center over there. We have 20, 22 people every week just coming out and
wow, nice.
Yeah, so you are 100% correct when you say that it's a lot of work, because like now we're not in the business. I personally, my work with the retreat is not moving bodies and doing the stuff that I started doing it for, like sharing a lifestyle. It's actually managing a kind of hotel, really a small hotel. But
Right.
which my wife does the most of because she is the ultimate boss and she's just amazing. So
Yes.
it would not have happened if she had not been part of it. So.
Hmm.
Mm.
So I'm just reading some of the comments here. So air control Pilates was saying, as you as it will
Azul
fit.
amazing. So yeah.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, that's awesome, man. Like, I mean, I think when we talk about things like that, like, it's your passion for surf, it's your passion for Pilates, it's your passion for connecting people and healing people and letting them see the amazing things their body can do.
Mm.
There's this intersection of all of our passions coming together or marrying our passions in what we do, which I love. I love hearing you say all that. And that's inspiring because a lot of people are stuck doing jobs they hate their life, they hate what they're doing. So when they see that, they're like, okay, well, how do I make that step? How do I get to that place, right?
Mm. Yeah, like how do you sort of get off the mark towards your dreams and things?
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it all depends on what that dream is, but it's like anything, you just have to take that first step, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, and also this is one thing. Like I say, like I didn't go to the Canary Islands to start a retreat business or to be this Pilates teacher. I went there to go surfing, right? But sometimes you don't get to choose what your dreams or your purpose in life is, right? I'd say most of the time actually. And it just comes to you and it says, well, hey, like what happened to my wife and I was like, it was like this tap on our shoulder and said, look, you got this great lifestyle. It was very simple. Like, I mean, great lifestyle is a very, very simple living, you know?
Yes.
And it said, this is what you should share. And this is why you need to share it because this space and these activities and this food that you eat, people need to know more about. And
Yes.
that will help change the world. So that's how it happened. It was almost like it happened to us, and we then have to sort of take that and run with it, you know?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. There's two pieces in there which I think are really neat. One is that you're familiar with Kathy Ross Nash.
yeah, of course, yeah, yeah,
And when she was on here and she was talking, she said that her Pilates space, she's like, I just want a job that I could be home for my kids, so they can come home from school and I'd be able to just be available when they're home. And now
yeah,
she's like the queen of Pilates to some degree, right? Like,
yeah,
and it's not like she didn't sit down with like a mind map and like a vision board of like taking over the Pilates world.
yeah.
She just was just basically following what was coming in front of her and just being passionate about teaching and all those different things.
Mm,
But it's fascinating the number of people who I've had conversation with that same thing. It's not like they plotted out to have this amazing dream life. They just went with what came in front of them and just followed that.
yes, yeah. Like wait for the door to open because you can bang your head against the same door, wanting to push for something. We've all been there.
Yes.
Incredibly frustrating, and it doesn't necessarily mean that that's not the direction to go in, but often the true calling or something that's going to lead you towards this maybe your goal, but maybe to some other platform. It's just there and it's open. I mean,
Yes.
how did you get into Pilates? How did that come about for you?
Yeah, and well, I like you in the personal training world, and even if I go back before then, I went to school for social work. I did my degree in counseling, and had an opportunity to work with a friend of mine who was a personal trainer, and she was like, you'd love this, like you get to just work out with people all day, and that's what I do, right? So at one point I came to a place where she was going back to school, and I was going to inherit her whole client base of trainers of clients, and I had to make the decision. Well, I can always fall back on my degree
Mm.
in counseling and just try this, and that was 2002. So I've been doing it forever. Um, and then while I was in that personal training world, I realized that, I had a chance to do some Pilates, and that helped me with some back injuries and stuff that I had from playing football, American football.
Yeah.
I had to clarify that based on the accent. And but then over time I realized that like Pilates was helping me so much. So like going to the Cairo, it turned into going like 3 times a week, and then like once a week, and then like once a month, and this whole Pilates world became like more prehab than rehab.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And then, and it's funny that you mentioned Peak because like Peak Pilates was one of the first comprehensive courses that I had done when I was working for a big box gym and loved it. And I thought,
Yeah.
okay, well, there's not that many men
Yeah.
doing Pilates at the time. Two, there definitely wasn't that many visible minorities at all.
No, no.
So now I kind of have a corner on the market here. I have a niche for my personal training business.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
as I dove deeper and deeper into it, taking more apprenticeships programs and stuff like that, I recognized that this is really my area of passion, helping men to realize, like I did, that this is a game changer. This is something that can help them with their sport. And if you're stuck at a desk, if you're trapped to a desk, this is something that can help you with your mobility and your back and all these different things. So yeah, it's been like, like yourself, I just recognize that like men need this. And that's why I started to use that handle, Real Men Do Pilates,
Yeah.
challenging men to get out of the mindset that this is just for women, that this is for someone else. Like this actually is for you if you're bold enough to give it a try. So
Yeah. I mean that's great. I love the way you see you see an opening for yourself in this world, which I think is important, rather than being put off from the fact that that your things that resonate with you or yourself is not represented there.
yes, right.
Because like you talk about that, like from just being male in this industry, it's predominantly female, and that's amazing, right? Because what they've done, they've developed this method into this thing. It's incredible, the movement, the way we did this, and also the more subtle aspect of movement, which is one of the biggest obstacles for guys, I find, anyway.
Yes, exactly, exactly.
Yeah, which is like the sense of like feeling it within your body. Maybe it doesn't look like you're doing much, but there's all this going on, and how can you dial in and tune into your intuition and all
Yes.
beautiful, beautiful things that have happened, and I think have happened in a great deal because female influence has developed this wonderful method, right?
Yes.
If, like you say, I have a friend, right, where he lives. There's Pilates that goes on, and they have a they have a class which is, I think it's like Pilates for plumbers or laborers or something.
Okay.
And it's exactly that. It's like if you can get guys who are just like working, doing like day to day, and they look at Pilates and they go, oh well, that's just for women because this. But when they actually get it and they experience it and they feel it in their bodies, and then like you say, all of a sudden they're not going to the chiro, they're not going and having to take pain medication or whatever. Then they're like,
right.
I should be able to work. I should be able to lay floor for like another 5 more years or whatever. And
Right.
it really is. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Troy McCarty has been on here, and he was talking about working with the Cleveland Cavaliers basketball team, right? So every rookie has to come in. Every rookie and every new player has to go through him.
Yeah.
And which I think is wow. I love that. And from him, like what you're saying here, there's something about a language that guy to guy that we can say that resonates. So if there's a female teaching the class, I'm not taking away from females teaching the class, but when you learn how, like, you understand how the male brain thinks, and you understand that like those plumbers are going to need to hear a certain way for it to resonate with them. Yeah. He had a way of saying it too for these guys. He'll say, if we do this well, that's going to translate to more minutes on the court.
Yeah. Yeah.
Playing, like it's playing time. So it's not like this is going to help your mobility. This is going to help your back. This is going to help. Yeah. It's like, no, this is court time for you.
No, totally. I think that's key. It's like it's given something that is specific and for them, right? So you give them that reason for doing it. This is guys, right? We
yes.
It's exactly like you say. You can tell them this will make your back feel better. This will make this feel better. This will make your movement bigger. This will make you stronger. And they're like, yeah, I can go and do whatever. I can do this, and then. When you start to show how it improves on their life, impacts absolutely immediately in some cases.
Yes. Great.
Like, oh, this light bulb kind of goes off. And they're like, wow, yeah. So like working with surfers, right? So
I was just going to ask you about that. Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. So if I can take a surfer, right? It doesn't matter what level they're at. They're going to have some sort of goal within this sport that they do, right? And if I can relate directly to that and talk directly to that point, like, so say it's a guy, he's just starting, he's maybe middle-aged, and he's just discovered this wonderful thing called surfing, and he just wants to learn to stand up properly, right, without hurting his back or without having to have 3 weeks of like massage afterwards, right? So if I can start saying, well, we're doing this movement because when you're popping up, This is how it relates to your hips. This is how this relates to your back. And you will get more waves, more pop-ups. You're going to feel better afterwards. You can go surfing the next day, you know. Oh, yeah, that's
Yes.
what I want, right? Or the pro, and I'm like, okay, so we're looking at turns, but your turns have to not just be bigger and stronger to get like scores. They've also got to look aesthetically better as well. So let's look at this specific movement, and then
Yes.
relate it to what we're doing. And yeah, you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And even like in like real talk, right? With guys, like I have worked with some skiers, and the way I might say to them sometimes, like, if we do this right, you won't be the first person in the lodge for the day. You'll be able to go back up one more time
Yeah.
instead of getting trash talked by your buddies because you had to bail out early on the day.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Right.
it's because and we relate because that's like you were saying, you weren't going to the to the Cairo, 3 times a week, and it changes. You feel it change, and you just want to share that what it's done for you, right? With
Yes.
the people, And
Right. Exactly. Yeah. So as Explore Pilates is saying, goal-oriented cueing is right across the board. That is so key, and that takes some understanding of. I'm going on my little rant here. That takes some understanding of the person that you're working with. We can't
yeah,
come with our agenda to each session. Like, we're going to go through the intermediate series today, lie down, let's go. It's to
no,
understand exactly where people are at, what their goals are. And I used a comment here that Meg Ayers is on here, and we were having this conversation about uh, meeting people at that intersection of what they need and what they say they want,
yes,
right?
yeah,
So that's the dance that we're always going through, where it's like a person comes in, they say their goal is to be this awesome surfer, and then every time they come in, they're like, I just want to stretch today. I'm like,
yeah, yeah.
like, right? So yes, so I use that sneaky ninja moves strategy to
I like that. Yeah, sneaky.
yes,
You gotta. I mean, it's gotta be fun, right? And you gotta give them, especially with, well, not especially with guys, with a lot of guys, let's say.
right. You can say especially with guys. I'm fine with
Yeah,
that.
yeah. You want to feel that sense of accomplishment, right?
Yes.
So it's about sneaking in, yeah, those nice, those delicious stretches, as people sort of describe them. I don't believe there's any such thing as a delicious stretch, but you stretch that just feels great, and you maybe working their body a little bit, and then you're like, right, now let's earn it. Let's do this. Well, I don't want to do that. This is going to help you do X, Y, Z, and that's why we're doing it. And then when you're done with that, we're going to finish with something that's really maybe super simple, but feels really strong, or really like, yeah, I'm the guy. Look at me doing like hanging pull-ups, or look at me just
Yes.
doing boxing on the arm springs, and this feels good, right? And
Yes.
then you've given a little bit of both, right? You've snuck in what you want or what you see that they need, right?
Yes. Yes.
And you've balanced it up with giving them a few treats in there, and maybe a bit of a steam boost in.
Yes.
Which is the other mistake I see a lot from time to time, right? When people talk about men in Pilates, and they say, well, the first thing we got to do is, because we got these really strong athletes coming through the door, we got to break them down and make them realize that it's really tough. And I just say, no. You've got this sensitive person, this being walking through the door, who is probably scared, right? Because it's not a natural environment for guys to walk into. And often some people, like, if I present, I do a present on like men in Pilates. And one of the things I talk about is even just, what does the room look like that they're walking into? If you have like
Yes.
pink walls, or what pictures are on the wall. And then this guy walks in, maybe feeling a little bit like, what are they thinking of me coming in? So you have to kind of welcome them, embrace them, show them what that movement is, nurture them. Yeah, kick their ass. Of course they want their ass kicked.
Yeah.
But time, give them this positive reinforcement as well. It's
Yes.
not,
Don't crush their dignity. Make the workout hard, but don't crush their dignity at the same time.
yeah. You want them coming back, and they will come back because they'll love it. Because in general, I see with guys, they want to sweat, they want to move, but ultimately, yeah, they do want to feel like they're improving, but they want to connect with those more intuitive, like internal kind of more subtle aspects of movement as well. They want to,
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And we're speaking in generalizations, but it's just to kind of keep your eyes out for that, because that is one of the elements that are sometimes missed when we're working with people. So
Yeah,
Sound yes, and explore Pilates sounds a bit like parenting. Yeah, yes,
totally parenting.
totally
So
parent.
that's saying that all our students are like our kids, or is no, I think like if you think about it in terms of parenting as well, like this is the thing, like Pilates is life, right?
Yes,
It's not always a case of us being the teacher. I think 100% of the time we're learning as well. So as we teach, we learn from our student. We see our mistakes. We see things that we've done well. We you know, it's a growing process for everybody who's involved. So I think that's
yes,
a beautiful thing, and stepping into a world where it's not I am your teacher, like give me some reverence. It's like I've got this bunch of information that I've picked up from my journey, and I think it can help you.
yes,
We are equals. We are totally on a plane together, but I'm going to use my knowledge to help you, and
yes.
journey that you embark upon together as a team, rather than just someone standing at the end of the reformer, like giving, shouting instructions and cues.
Yes, absolutely. And it all comes down to the way that we package that, right? Like, because this is their workout. Like,
Yeah.
I say it to clients when we start out, like, I'm coming alongside you in your fitness journey,
Yeah. Mm.
right? Like, this is your journey. I'm coming alongside you. So we have 2 hours a week together or 3 hours a week together that I don't really have that big of an impact as you think. Like, this is really your workout. And I'm here at these little junctions throughout the week, but this
Yeah.
is yours.
Yes. That's great. I love the way you express that, because it's so true. It's almost like an honor, isn't it, to for them
It
to have
is.
said this is the studio. You're the teacher that I've chosen to come and work with,
Yes.
and this is my body, and I'm trusting you and handing myself over to you. And now do your work, and you're like, yeah, wait, no, it's and an incredible honor. It really truly is. And I think if we remind ourselves of that as well, we talked
Yes.
at the beginning about how this could be your sixth, seventh client of the day, and you're exhausted. That's where you're going to find your energy, because instead of standing at the front and saying, this is my agenda, this is what I'm teaching for the seventh hour in a row, instead you're standing up and you're saying, out here somewhere is this Pilates method, right? And I'm going to be
Yes.
this conduit to this beautiful movement method
Yes.
that I'm going to share with your body as I see it. And it's less my effort and more of how do I direct this beautiful energy and this beautiful knowledge that both
Yes.
to everybody and to somebody else, created by somebody else, refined by everybody involved, and then you just become this conduit to it.
Conduit.
And I found, since approaching my teaching in that way, that that's where my energy lies, and I can teach better, longer, and just love every minute of it, as opposed to grinding it out.
Yeah, that's great, man. Such an intentional approach. Yeah, that's really, really good stuff.
Mm.
Yeah, and we are at 52. We got like 8 minutes left here, man. That was solid.
Yeah, sorry, I'd said once you set me off talking, that's it. I
Yeah,
will.
oh, man. Yeah, that's such a yeah. Like I'm just reading that adds to our authenticity, just as you were discussing previously. Yeah, that's exactly it. Like that is a real authentic way to teach, where we're not coming and imposing our will upon a person. We're a conduit for what that person needs.
Mm, mm.
Love that.
Yeah,
I'm
I've even heard that was Joe. So he really, you see in his videos this really over physical, over sort of macho kind of guy. But I've also heard that he had these moments where he would just all of a sudden, it was almost like there was something divine intervening, and his hands on his whole persona would be just perfect, And I think that's sort of ultimately how I like to think of him, as opposed to this image that he'd like to project.
yes, absolutely. Any closing thoughts? I know you did touch on the movement as healing, but just in general, any other kind of closing thoughts as we tie the
Just,
time?
I would say, just very quickly, just to say that movement heals, but community heals, and I put it in a post a few weeks back that the Pilates body can also represent us as a community. And when we come together, it's good to be different. It's good to have conversations, like you say, it's a conversation, as opposed to just this is what I think, and I just want to stand in an echo chamber and hear all the same stuff that I feel. Instead,
Yes.
listen to one another and grow together, because there's some awesome commonalities that we have, and this method is amazing, and it makes people feel great, and we can change the world together as a community. You know, all
Yes.
ends of it. You know, so come together, people. We're stronger that way. You know.
Yes. Amen to that. That's good stuff, man. Yeah, I'm looking forward to working with you more in the future. I mean, your approach to just taking like big to small to big is really the way to go, right? Like this massive task of changing the world from the small place of just working with one individual, allowing them to impact their people and it to span out that way, is it. Yeah, exactly. Preach. Love that. Align Pilates. Amazing. So yeah, so thank you so much. I will send you the
Yeah.
replay of this later, man. Like this is so good.
And thank you
Um,
for what you're doing as well, Martin. This is great, giving people a voice and sharing it with the community. It's fantastic.
Loving
Keep
it. Will do. All right, man. Take care. Thank you.